All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again here on this Tony Robbins inspired event that we're doing thanks to Success Resources and getting this chance to share some of Tony's teachings. Right now we're exploring what is the difference that makes the difference. Why do some people make that big change? And what Tony has found, he's worked with some of the most successful people all over the world. He's found that there are three major pillars that will determine your level of success in life. The amount of quality you have in each of these three pillars, the amount of work you do in each three, will determine your results. So the first pillar is your strategy. So another word for strategy could be your goals, it's your vision, your mission, basically where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. So it's your goals and it's your plan. So these together will make up your results going forward. It will make up how you reach your goal. So we're going to look at this a little bit because this is actually how I started. This is actually how my journey started. I can tell you my entire journey, the way I've gotten where I have is by implementing these three pillars. So this part here we're going to work on has been huge for me. The difference you can make in your life by implementing these pillars are amazing. To me today, I'm a property investor. I invest in properties in the UK and I've built myself a very successful property portfolio thanks to the implementation of these three pillars. So you're going to get a chance to look into this and learn more. Obviously, if you want to learn more about property, you can visit MomentumPropertyEducation.com where we teach property investing. But let's get into these three pillars because this is where it gets really exciting. Is what Tony has found that by implementing a good strategy, you will have result. And to me, actually, my journey started about 13 years ago when Tracy came to Stockholm. You might not have heard of Brian, but Brian is one of the most successful speakers in the world. He is amazing when it comes to business, leadership, sales, and goal setting. And 13 years ago, he was in Sweden. He was actually at Globen, and it was packed. It was amazing how many people were there. And to me, that was my first contact with this at all. Personal development, learning and improving as a person and as a business person. I hadn't even imagined that that was possible. And I spent a whole day at that event learning from Tracy. And what sticks with me till today is when he talked about goal setting. Because I've always loved goals. I've always loved having clear goals. And back in the day, I used to be an athlete, emphasis on used to be. But I always loved having a goal. But one thing I hadn't done, and it was what Brian said was the most important part of goal setting, was writing it down. I had never written down my goals. And what he did was he referred to an old Harvard Business Review study where they asked people who were beginning out at Harvard about their background, about who they were, and specifically about their goals. And I found this intriguing because these are some of the most successful students in the entire United States. They've worked so hard to make it in, and they fell into one of three very clear groups when it came to their goals. So the first group, a large part of the students, had no goals. They'd made it into Harvard. Life was set. They didn't need to think about it anymore. A second group, also a large group, they kind of knew where they were going. They could see it. It was kind of vague there in the, in the distance, but it was definitely not written down and it was absolutely not clear. And then there was a third group. About 1% of the people they spoke to had clearly written down goals with a deadline that they had shared with a friend. And so what Harvard Business Review then did was they followed up with everyone after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, and finally after 20 years. And after 20 years, they asked one simple question. How much money do you make today? And remember, this is the US. People answer when you ask that question, okay? And it turned out that these 1%, the 1% who had clearly written down goals with a deadline, were now making 10 times as much as the other people. 10 times as much. When I heard that, I ran home to my wife and said, honey, we're going to set our goals. Because imagine if it has that impact, 10 times as much on your finances, imagine what it'll do for your health, for your spiritual development, for your relationships, for your happiness. Imagine getting 10 times the result in every area of your life. That's how powerful goal setting is. So what we're going to do now is a very powerful goal setting exercise. So once I've walked you through the exercise, I want you to pause this video, give it a time to go through it and do this exercise, and then come back to the video. Are you ready? All right, good. So we're going to do this exercise, and what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to visualize your dream life. Maybe turn on some nice music, something calm, some meditative music, and just picture yourself in your dream life. Kind of spend a day there. Where do you live? What kind of a car do you drive? What do you do? Where do you wake up? Well, how do you spend a day? And as you do this, then take that step, go deep in, make it as clear as possible. And then when you open your eyes, make sure you have pen and paper now. Write down and describe this as clearly as you possibly can and kind of write that story. All right, you ready? That's it. So visualize as clearly as you can, eyes closed, then open your eyes and start writing. So if you don't have pen and paper, pause the video, go get them. If you do, get ready to start, hit pause and go. All right, welcome back. How did that feel? Well done. I'm sure you've done the exercise. Otherwise you're just wasting your time. So you might as well get the work done. So if you haven't done it yet, pause the video and actually do it. All right, now you're back for real. Awesome. Let's get this done. Good. Now that you know exactly what you want, you have this picture. You can spend hours, days, months on this, but let's not overdo it. Now, what we're going to do to make this as clear as possible and to give you this momentum, we're going to break out one aspect of your life. I consider that to be 5 major aspects of your life. So you have your money, you have your career, you have your relationships, your spiritual development, and your health. Those 5 are what makes up your life. I'll do them again so you can get them nice and clearly. Your finances, your career, your spiritual development, your health, and your relationships. So those are the 5. And you can do this for each part of each one of these 5s, but I'm going to use something that is very, very clear and easy and will be very similar for a lot of people. We're going to choose money. And I know it's taboo to choose money, but we're doing it for the sake of the exercise. I hope you can forgive me. And otherwise, just don't be pissed and use health or relationships or something else. But money is just very easy as a starting point. So let's do that. So what I want you to do now is imagine how much money would you need to live this dream life? Whatever number. I'll let you choose if you want to think of it as a monthly cash flow, you like monthly passive income, or if you want it just, I want $1 billion in my bank account. Whatever is right for you, put that in. And don't be afraid to ask for a lot. Joe Vitale says in The Secret, he says, see the world as a catalog, or the universe as like a catalog, like a shopping catalog, and kind of go, well, I want one of those, and one of those, and one of those, and one of those. You have the option now to choose your goal. So set a goal. Les Brown always says, if you aim for the stars, at least you'll hit the moon. The problem is that most people don't aim for higher than the roof of their own house. So the problem isn't that you aim too high and you miss, it's that you aim too low and you hit. So make sure you set a goal that is exciting and inspires you. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to break it down into accessible chunks so that you can achieve it. All right, pause the video again and write down your goal. All right, well done. Good job. All right, let's do this. What we're going to do now, this is a major goal, and I expect if you put a big enough number there for you, you have no idea how you're going to reach that goal. If you do, you might want to add a 0. If you feel confident you know exactly how to do this, maybe add a 0. Make it hard. Push yourself a little bit. That's where it gets fun. And you should feel, I have no idea how to do this, but man, it would be cool if I could. So put that goal down. Make it exciting. And now, we're going to break it down into, as Tony says, you break it down into milestones. And when it's a big goal, you break it down into 3 milestones. So you have your major goal up here. You have milestone 1, 2, 3. And you build your way toward it. So we're going to use just a simple round number. We're going to use $100 million. So if that was your goal, I want $100 million in my bank account. Great, let's break it down into steps. So they always say that your first million is the hardest. So I always suggest putting that as your base level. And it doesn't really matter what currency, if it's dollars, if it's krona, but put that as your base. Now you can break down the rest into 2 steps. So I'm going to let you pause this video again and think, okay, so if 1 million is my first step, what is step 2? What is step 3? And then 100 million is step 4. That is your goal. So it becomes 4 steps in total, 3 milestones. Whatever your goal is, if it was 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion, trillion, whatever you set, you start with 1 million and build your way up. If you already have 1 million, that's great. You build from there. So pause the video and create your milestones. All right, good job. Great, we're getting somewhere now. This is where it gets exciting. Now, we're going to create that plan. Now you have your goal. You know where you're going. You know your target. Let's work out how to get there. What's exciting about the milestones is that now you can put 100% focus on making that first step. Because what happens is once you make that first milestone, you can now start focusing on number 2. When you hit it, you focus on number 3. When you hit it, you go to your goal. So it becomes a lot easier. So you know that you're on your way to your end goal, your 100 million, billion, whatever it is for you. You know that's where you're going. But now you can start at the beginning and you can work your way up. So it helps you put all your energy in a goal that you can grab, that you know, and it keeps the excitement of that big goal, that vision, the stars in the distance. So it's a good combination of getting you excited, but also grounded and focused. So what we're going to do now is in a moment, you're going to pause the video again, and you're going to write down every single task you could do, every action you could take to reach your goal. Basically, we're creating what Tony calls a plan of action. A plan of action, because action is the key to all success. So our plan has to be a plan of action. What is everything you can do to reach your goal? And that could be educate yourself, finding a mentor, studying, getting knowledge, starting a business, starting to invest, build a property portfolio, whatever it is that you can do now, starting to put that knowledge into action. Wherever you are, you begin there. Take a few moments and try to get at least 10 things down on your list. All right? Pause, go. All right, good job. Well done. So now you know where you're going. You know what steps you're going to be in going through, the milestones on the way, and you know what actions you need to take. You know exactly what you're doing tomorrow morning, don't you? You're starting on that action plan. Good job. Well done. Now we're going to move on to pillar number 2, because this is where the rubber meets the road. And honestly, I'm not too worried about this when it comes to you, because you're here, you're watching this video, because the second pillar is activity. The ability to put plays into action, actually doing it. And you're here, you're watching this because you're an action taker. A lot of people sign up for things and they don't come. A lot of people, they start watching a video, they don't finish it. A lot of people buy a book and never read even the first page. You're doing it, you are awesome. But action is the key. That is where your success will come from. Without action, there can be no results. So make sure you start putting this into action right away. All right? And I know you can. I know that is who you are. So let's get that done. The third pillar is by far the most important. This one pillar will by itself have 80% of your success is tied up in the third pillar. 80% of your success is this third pillar. That is where the rubber meets the road. That is where the difference happens. That is where the magic happens. And it is your mindset. It's having that championship mindset, because we have challenges when we're going to do this. When you put this plan into play, it will not be perfect. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to be beaten down, and you're going to want to give up. And it takes a championship mindset to keep going. Because there are 2 major obstacles you got to face. It is other people's opinions and setbacks. Because how do most people react when they have a setback? If they're doing something, they have a setback, what do? Exactly, they give up. They say, it doesn't work, I'm done, I give up, I surrender. And that is where the most successful people in the world keep going. You probably have heard of Thomas Edison, the bringer of light. Thomas Edison tried and failed 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. Do you think people were telling him to give up? In the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he tells the story how a journalist asked Thomas Edison, he came up to him and said, Mr. Edison, sir, you've tried and you've failed to invent the light bulb. Isn't it time you give up? And Edison just looked at him and said, look, I haven't failed a single time. I have found thousands of ways not to invent a light bulb, and I'm going to continue until I succeed. And he did. And he succeeded once. He failed 10,000 times, but we remember that one success. That is the key. Because in Darren Hardy's books, and if you haven't read Darren Hardy's books, he's an amazing author. So I highly recommend Darren Hardy. In his books, he talks about there are only 2 true outcomes when you take action. If you take action, you either succeed or you learn. You might have said fail there, but no, it's learn. Failure only happens when you give up. If you keep working towards it, you will always learn from it. You try again, you look at what worked, you look at what didn't, you act again, and sooner or later you'll succeed. And that is what Thomas Edison proves, and that is what you can do. So make sure you take that action and get to your level of success. That is key. The other challenge we have is other people's opinions. And you'll always have people telling you you can't do it. Because, I mean, you're the type of person who's watching a video like this. So I'm sure you always have brilliant ideas, new schemes to come up with how to start a business, how to reach your goal, how to get to that next level. And what do the people around you say? Well, you do realize that's not going to work, right? Or as my family always said, if it's such a good idea, why hasn't someone else already thought of it? As if I couldn't come up with a good idea, right? So it's insane. And you need to keep going. The reason why they said this is not because they don't believe in you. It's because they are afraid themselves. And they need you to step up and be the leader you are and prove to them that you can and that they can. And I want to ask you a favor. When, and I don't say if, I say when you succeed, you turn around and help someone else. And I can tell you, people have said bad things about me. Sadly, I mean, it happens. I've gotten critique. I've even had people write about me online, and it hurts. I'm a very emotional person, as you might have noticed, and it hurts. It's a very painful experience. And the only thing I'm happy about is that there are dozens more that have written very nice things about us. And the only way to prove to these people that are negative is to keep going and to reach your success. I mean, I am where I am today. I have my house. I have my portfolio. I mean, I live in 500 square meters in a pool, with a heated pool in Sweden. I mean, I'm pretty happy. I'm living in Stockholm. So I mean, I have a good life, but everyone doesn't appreciate what you do. I mean, we're literally trying to help you reach your goals and live your dream life. That's my mission. I want to help 1 million people live that dream life. And everyone doesn't appreciate that. You know what? That's okay. That's okay, because you're here to learn, and that's why I'm here. That's what I want to do. And you know what? When they give you that critique, that's okay. You keep going and you will overcome. And when you overcome, rise above. Don't go back penalizing. Instead, give them a hand and show them that they can do it too. I would never be where I am if it wasn't for my mentors. I mean, we have the luck to work with Success Resources that have helped us work with Tony Robbins' organization. We work with the Zuckerberg Institute, so we work with Randy Zuckerberg. We work with the Rich Dad organization, so we work with Kim Kiyosaki. And that's why we've had the opportunity to translate the cash flow game into Swedish. If you've played their game, Cash Flow 101, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, an amazing book. I digress. But, there are always going to be challenges on the way, and you will face them. And the people that were saying you can't do it, they'll be telling you that they told you so. But you keep going and you will succeed. All right, so that was the 3 pillars. We have some work to do now. What we're going to start doing now is get into you. You are going to start doing some internal work to find out how you can increase your mindset, improve that, and take that next step. So I hope you're ready. We'll get into it in the next video. Good job. Great job on the exercises.